and welcome to the 21st episode of the Fiber of My Being podcast, a podcast all about knitting and crochet and all the other fibery arts. My name is Megan, and I'm the host of this podcast, and you can find me on Ravelry and on Instagram as Fiber of My Being. And please also check out the Fiber of My Being Ravelry podcast group on Ravelry. Yeah, if it sounds like I'm out of breath, like I've just been running up and down the stairs a bunch, it's because because the cats were getting into a fight right as I started filming. Mary and Esther were getting in a fight, the two originals. The kitten doesn't fight. She's a bit of a wimp. Or a peace lover, whichever you prefer. I'm rambling on. I'm sorry. It's been such a long time since I've filmed one of these that I forget how to do it. I'm so sorry for the delay in getting podcasts out recently and in filming new podcasts like this one. I've been trying to film this podcast for weeks, and I've been so busy, and the one day that I actually sat down and planned, I was going to sit down and film the podcast, I was in at work, at the animal shelter where I work, and I got a fat lip because a dog jumped on my face. And so I thought I probably shouldn't film a podcast with a fat lip. So then I had to wait a while. And the reason I've been so busy is because I've been going through the process of actually getting a new job at the animal shelter. So yeah, before I worked at the animal shelter, and now I still work at the same animal shelter. But it's a better job. It's more hours, better pay, less poop to clean up. So that's always nice. And I'm super excited about it. Because this is like an actual career in helping animals at a shelter. And that just is like the dream for me. It's just the dream job. So, and it still leaves me enough time to do plenty of knitting. So it's just pretty much perfect. But I'm doing training right now, so it's the transition period, and my hours aren't really regular yet. And so it's just been kind of crazy. And yeah. So all that's to say, I'm sorry that I haven't filmed a podcast recently. And if you have stuck by me even through this long break, thank you for coming back and for watching my podcast and for just sharing a joy of knitting with me. So yeah, and I just wanted to talk about one more thing before I move on to knitting, which is that a few weeks back, I finally got to go to this place called the Knitters Underground, which is in the State College area here, and it's actually a shut down knitting shop. She's not actually open anymore, but every month she opens up her shop that's still full of tons of yarn and things that she's desperately trying to get rid of, and she opens it up to the Spinners Guild in the middle of the day. And so I managed to finally get to one of those meetings, and I'm glad I did, because with the new job starting, I know I won't be able to get to any more, but I managed to get to one of those meetings and check out this awesome, amazing closed down yarn shop that has more yarn than some shops that I've seen that are still open. So it was just fantastic, and everything was half price. So half price yarn plus Megan and a wallet full of cash equals lots of guilty purchases. So I'll be going into those a little bit later. But I wanted to mention it because a few of my projects, well, I guess just one of my projects really, involves yarn that I bought there. So I wanted to give you some context before I get to that point. So I will move on to finished objects. And yeah, my first finished object is little and also requires a little bit of finagling in terms of filming, because it's also a cat hat. And it doesn't look like much here, but I went ahead and filmed a couple segments of this hat on our two tuxedo cats, Mary and Agatha, and so I will try to insert them in here. So we're here in my craft room, actually, which doubles as Mary's room. And Mary is showing off my latest finished object. And she's also moving. So I knit her a mohawk, punk rock mohawk. Slips over her ears just like the one did for Esther. And she doesn't hate it, unlike Agatha, who pretty much hates it. So I won't torture her too much, and I won't torture you with this terrible filming. I will go back to future Megan. So, yeah, cat hats, awesome. So, as you could see from that video, Agatha, the kitten on the cat tree, pretty much hated it. And Mary, on the other hand, well, she really didn't like it either, but she tolerated it. And so I just thought that this was perfect, turning it into a black hat with a pink mohawk on it to make them both look kind of punk rock mohawk. And this hat, again, just like the Esther Bunny hat I knit for the last podcast, is from the book Cats and Hats by Sarah Thomas. And I love these hats because they really, really don't take that long to knit up. But they give me so much enjoyment. And yeah, I'm also thinking of knitting some of these as promotional things for cats in the shelter, for any cats that might actually tolerate wearing one of these. They said that might be something that we could occasionally use. So I think that's pretty awesome. But yeah, so hat for a cat. It's a very small finished object, but oh, the joy it brings. So next up is something that I'm wearing. And this was a finished object last podcast, I believe. And I finally got around to blocking it. And I say finally because it's been so long since I actually filmed the last podcast. Because I filmed it like right around the time podcast number 19 went up onto the interwebs. And so it's taken me a very, very long time to get that podcast up. But I finally blocked the shawl. This is my Multnomah shawl. So it's got this lovely, gorgeous feather and fan pattern. I will bring it closer so you can see it. So, feather and fan on a simple triangle. And I'm just pretty darn happy with this shawl. So, it's knit out of Cascade Heritage Wave in, I don't even know what the colorway is because it's just a number and I did not bother to memorize the number. But I love the fade of this yarn and I'm just really happy with this. So I still have another skein of this left, which will probably become socks because it is technically a sock yarn. But I'm very happy with how this turned out after blocking because before I blocked it, it was very tiny and didn't even fit around my neck. And now, it's not the biggest shawl I've ever had. And yeah, I wish it were a little bit bigger. But small shawls are important too. So I figure it's okay. It's okay. And I don't know why I'm putting that back on, because I need my neck for the next finished object that I have, which was also finished before, but required blocking. And that is my Rodical scarf. So, I'm just going to actually reframe a little. I'm sorry for the chaos of this podcast. It's been so long since I filmed that I'm having trouble getting back to normal. But yeah, this is the Rodical shawl, which I showed you before. It's by Nancy Marchant. It's a free pattern, brioche, gorgeous, reversible, lovely brioche from the Queen of Brioche. And I finally blocked it so that this end looks a whole lot nicer. It looks like an upside down tulip instead of just a blobby, funky looking end. So I'm pretty happy with this. And it's a nice keyhole style brioche scarf of wonderfulness. And I knit this out of, I made a mistake last time. I said Knit Picks Wool Like, but it's actually Loops and Threads Wool Like, which is Michael's store brand. So, yeah, I'm very happy with this as well. Blocking. Having a blocking party just gets you so many more finished objects than you had before, because I just blocked all of these things at the same time, and then they were done, and they were awesome. And yeah, let's face it, that's just cool. Now the next one was not a finished object before, and wasn't even close to being finished before. And so, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of it. And also it's blocked, so that helps. And it is my finished Print O' the Wave stole. This pattern is by Uni Zhang, and I knit it out of Shirsty Cat Lovely Lace in the springtime color. So I'm coming a little closer so that you can see the finished and blocked loveliness that is this shawl. And I will also take it off so that you can see. It got huge. It's not even all of it. I can't even fit it all on screen. It's just like massive and wonderful. So this is a Shetland lace pattern, and it's so lovely and lacy, and I love how the tonal yarn turned out. I don't think it detracts too much from the lace pattern, which I definitely worked very hard on. So I'm glad that it complements it instead of detracts from it. And it just turned, it went from this scrunchy little caterpillar that I had when I was working on the border and thought I was going to run out of yarn again and again and again. And it turned into this beautiful butterfly of a shawl. And I'm just not even showing it off very well because it's so huge. And I'm so out of practice, so I'm terribly sorry. But I'm also terribly happy, because if you've been watching my podcast, you'll know that I've been really struggling in a game of Yarn Chicken against this shawl, because I was running out of yarn to knit the entire applied edging border on the shawl. I knew I didn't have enough yarn, so I kept bumping the needle size down to get a different gauge, and I finally managed to have enough yarn. And I actually had a little tiny bit left over even. And this yarn, I don't think I said, is Shirsty Cat Designs. It's her lovely lace base, and which is just merino in a lace weight, and it's the springtime colorway. So I think it's perfect that I've finished it now and can wear it for spring, and I absolutely love it. And I'm not quite sure what my favorite way to wear it is yet, but you know what? I can wear it like this. That doesn't look terrible. Or I can wear it around my shoulders, but man, do I like that. I'm so sorry that I'm so, out of it today. Just it's been so long since I've actually filmed, and I know I keep saying this, but I'm just so out of it, and I'm so distracted, and I have so many wonderful things to share with you, and I just want to share them all at once, and that would not make for a very good podcast, so I'm sorry. Yeah, so I do actually have one more finished object to share with you, and this was not even close to being finished last time that I podcasted. It had been started, but nowhere close to being finished, and I'm actually going to take off the beautiful, lovely scarf so that I can show you the last thing, and then I'm going to put the scarf back on because, let's face it, that's like the crowning achievement of this podcast. So, I finished my Ice Queen cowl, wimple, hood thing. And I say all of those things because it really is like a little bit of everything. So, you drape it like this. And why did I pull my hair out? Because if I want to use it as a hood, my hair needs to be in so that I can pull up the hoodie bits. This pattern is by Romy Hill. It's a free pattern through Knitty.com, actually. And I don't know if the hood looks very good on me, but I love the cowl. I love these scoopy feather and fan patterns, and I love the beads. And I'm definitely going to wear this a ton. And so this is knit. Oh my gosh, how many times can I say I'm so sorry. This is knit in Knit Picks Aloft, which is their mohair and silk blend. It's basically, you know, your average mohair, silk, halo-y awesomeness. It's just so halo-y. And this used less than 25 grams for this whole thing. That's why I love this pattern. I actually still have, oh, it's stuck on a needle. I still have quite a bit of the ball left. So this is Knit Picks Aloft, like I said, and it's just their silvery colorway. And then I used pearlescent beads, just from your basic craft store, to bead on it. And it just makes a lovely, drapey, lacy cowl that will go with anything. And if I need to, I can pull up the hood, but I don't know that I'll necessarily do that because it makes my chin stick out and I look like a hag. That's definitely what I look like. But here, it just looks nice and lacy and wonderful. And I'm very happy with it. Did I say that this is by Romy Hill? I think I did. I'm so sorry. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, but also I've done a crazy lot of knitting because I knit this whole thing in the past like 2 or 3 days is all it took for this. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I also knit like the entire border of this shawl in the past couple of weeks. So I don't think it's been a wasted time, really. Not at all. Next up, I need to grab a basket because I'm going to segment things a little bit differently this time around. Because it's hard for me to say whether spinning goes under finished objects or works in progress. And I find it hard for the reason that some of these things I'm finished with the thing that I'm actually going to show you, but I still have more to spin, or I still have more to do with it, like for example, knit it. So I'm just going to have a separate spinning segment in this podcast that comes between finished objects and works in progress. So I will show you all of the spinning things I've been doing. First off, I don't think that this was finished last time. I have now 2 skeins of alpaca yarn, and I spun this using a woolen technique, but it's pretty rough because it was from raw alpaca locks, so that I just lightly carded apart using dog combs. So it's a little bit lumpy and bumpy, but honestly, I'm pretty okay with how it turned out. There's some thin sections and some nice barber pulling, but there's also nice texture, and I'm really excited to see what I can make with this. So last time I think I had 1 skein done, and now I have 2 skeins done, and that is all of the alpaca, and I'm very happy to be finished with this fiber because I bought this raw alpaca fiber on a whim at the same time that I bought my very first drop spindle. So I was not currently of the ability level to be able to spin these things. So I don't know why I bought them when I did, but it just spoke to me. And so now I have done something with it, and that is good. That is very good. Next up are another couple of skeins that I've finished. This skein was previously finished, and now I've finished this larger skein of fiber from, I'm not even going to attempt to remember where I got this fiber from, but I know that it is Leicester Longwool and Merino 50-50 blend, and I used a semi-woolen long draw sort of technique for it, which now I know probably wasn't the best because it's a lot of long wool in it, but the yarn turned out fine, and I love the color variations in this, and it matches pretty well with my shawl, so you know, there's that. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with these as well. So these will also go into my hand spun stash that I'm really hoping to knit with more. Next up, I have a couple of samples that I've spun. So this is nowhere near a finished project really, but the particular sample I have is done. So first off, I took on a pretty ambitious spinning project for someone who is still fairly new to things as I am. So let me just untangle it here so I can show you my sample of boucle. Yes, I tried to spin boucle, and for the most part it turned out pretty horribly. It's just very loose and not really loopy at all, but occasionally you get sections, like I'm pretty proud of this section right there. That looks like nice boucle. Whereas, let's see, yeah, there's a ton of sections that actually look like terrible boucle and terrible yarn, to be honest. Like that. That's not boucle. That's just like poorly plied nonsense. So, but it was the first time I ever attempted boucle, so I didn't expect a whole lot, and it does look like boucle a bit, and it does actually hold together. It doesn't just fall apart in my hands. So I guess it's semi a success. I ended up with lots of pigtails along the yarn, which is where, let me see, a pigtail like that, where a single plies against itself before it has the chance to ply with the other singles that you're plying it with. So there was that. And I mean, that kind of stinks, but considering there are already loops coming off of the yarn, I don't think the pigtails are that noticeable. And I'm pretty happy with this sample. So, the way I made this sample is the way that you are supposed to make boucle, which is you spin your looping ply, which I used mohair for my looping ply, a nice mohair top, and I didn't get it as thin as I was hoping. It's really kind of a fat looping ply, but I was having a lot of trouble drafting the mohair because I've been spinning a lot of short wools lately, and mohair is not short. So, yeah, I need to practice with that some more. But so the looping ply is mohair, and then you spin that in, oh, which way is it? If you spin clockwise, it's a Z spin, correct? I could be totally wrong. You spin that with a Z direction, and then you spin your core single in the S direction, and then you ply in the Z direction. I'm just gonna stop talking because I think I got this totally wrong. But anyway, you have a looping ply and a core, and then you ply them together, and while you're plying, you push the looping ply up on itself onto the core so that it ends up looping multiple times around the same section of the core. And then where the magic really happens is that then you go and ply in the other direction with a binder ply, which I used another single of, I used a similar single to my core, which is just a simple core made out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes roving. And so you ply again in the opposite direction, and the binder ply is what really makes the loops just open up and also causes them to hold in place. So for a first attempt at boucle, I think I did fairly well. I will definitely be working on this some more, but not right away because I don't need to try that anytime soon again. But it was an interesting thing to try, and I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad it turned out looking somewhat like boucle. And then I have another sample. I've been really trying to figure out what my next spinning project should be. And so I've been spinning some samples to figure out how to use particular yarns, or fibers, I mean, yeah. And so this one ended up kind of a mess, to be honest, but it's worth showing anyway. Yeah, I don't even know. Oh, there we go. Okay, I think that works. That looks like my skein a bit, with a little loop on because I messed something up when I was skeining it onto a Knitty Knotty. So please excuse the awful skeining. But this is a sample of my, what was it called? It was a wool I got from For the Love of Fiber, and it was made from alpaca, silk, and teaswater. So it's a nice blend, and I decided to try spinning it woolen. So as you might be able to tell, I got a lovely woolen yarn. Holds together really well. It's pretty strong, but also nice and fluffy. And yeah, just lots of air in it. So I don't remember why I stopped spinning this. It was probably just because I got too busy. But I did spin a little sample, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So I think this is how I'll spin the rest of the fiber. I'm just not sure if this will be my next project. So again, I'll show you this sample, boucle, and then this woolen long draw sample. And I must say, I was starting to actually really enjoy the woolen long draw technique. So I am excited to use it again, but currently I don't have a whole lot of fibers that lend themselves well to the woolen technique. So I'll have to fix that at some point. But for now, I've got a couple of samples worked up. And then last in my sort of spinning segment is more of a fiber thing. And it is the fact that, well, I showed you before that I dyed up a braid of Targhee wool into 4 different colors to attempt a fractal spin. And so here are the 3 colors that I dyed previously: pink, orange, and green. And they're nice tropical looking colors, which I very much like. And there's a little bit of orange in the pink and some pink in the orange, and that's okay. But when I had dyed it the last time, my blue didn't turn out very vibrant and tropical. It turned out very light, like this. And I didn't like that, because I didn't think that this would blend in well with these. My nest came apart. So I kept trying to over-dye it to a darker color, and it kept not working. And I finally figured out what I needed to do to fix it. I needed to use citric acid for my acid instead of vinegar, because the vinegar, when the food coloring hit it, and I used Wilton's food coloring gel for this, when the food coloring hit the vinegar, the red took up much quicker than the blue. It didn't want to take up the blue, and so it didn't turn out very vibrant. So I used citric acid instead, and I got beautiful results. And I'm very happy with that, and this is ready for me to fractal spin now. So maybe this will be my next spinning project. A nice tropical fractal spin. So I've already split up the piece of fiber that I dyed into strips for fractal spinning, but they turned out to be a pretty nice blue, and I'm very, very happy with them, and now I can finally continue with this fractal spin. So that's all of my spinning, and yeah, it was just hard to say what was finished and what was not, because those samples are finished. The wool is done being dyed, but I'm still not done with it, so I don't really know what segment to put it in, so I'll just lump it all together. So now I can talk works in progress. And I don't actually have that many works in progress, because I poured a lot of my energy into a few large projects that I managed to finish, such as this and this. So that's taken up a lot of my time, but I have been working on a few other things. So I will share those with you. For one thing, I started a new shawl, because I don't have enough shawls on my needles. I'm becoming like a shawlaholic. I need help. Or I need someone to enable me to knit even more shawls. One or the other. Whichever's fine. I don't really care. I'll just keep knitting. But I started a new shawl. And this is one of the first patterns that I've ever, bought. Because I've been on a budget before, so I tend to just go for free patterns, because there's a lot of nice free patterns around. But I've had my eye on this paid-for pattern for a while, and I really wanted to knit with it. So I ordered some yarn to knit this shawl, and then when I got the yarn, I had to cast it on, because the yarn was just so beautiful. So the yarn is Knit Picks Alpaca Cloud Fingering in the Edith colorway, which is this lovely brown with kind of bits of red and yellow in it, and it's just got that lovely alpaca fluffiness. And so this is one of the skeins. I think I got 4 skeins of this, just in case. I mean, if I don't use them all for this, I'll find something to use this lovely alpaca for. But anyway, so that's one of the this is one of the skeins that I haven't balled up yet. And then here is the shawl. And it's all the wrong way. Excuse me. Spring. Allergies. I'm sorry. Here is the shawl. And it is all bunched up because my needles aren't really big enough. So I'm sorry about that. But this is the Pebble Beach Shawl by Helen Stewart. And as I said, I'm knitting this in Alpaca Cloud Fingering in the Edith colorway. And I've just really wanted a brown shawl. Brown, nice, drapey shawl. Which alpaca will be perfect. Alpaca's really drapey. So, yeah, I'm currently just working on this basic eyelet sort of pattern, and then, yeah, I still have a while to go on this. I'm knitting the medium size of the shawl, because I wanted a nice medium-sized shawl. And I've made some progress, but I put it on hold after a while so that I could finish this and the Ice Queen cowl and all that. But I am just super excited about this shawl, and I'm excited about the fiber. I really haven't knit much with alpaca, and I'm just really loving it. I don't find it scratchy. Of course, I haven't been knitting it on my neck, so we'll see. But if it turns out to be scratchy, I'll just wear it with turtlenecks or something, because nothing's going to stop me from wearing this beautiful, lovely shawl once it's done. So, that's a thing that I'm knitting. And I chose Edith also because it's a beautiful brown color, which is what I envisioned for this shawl. I wanted a brown shawl. And this Edith colorway in particular, Knit Picks has discontinued, at least for the time being. So it went on a goodbye sale. And so, yarn on sale, even better. I think it looks nice, and I'm happy with it. Also on my needles right now, in my Dalek bag by Rock Solid Designs. This bag is like my life now. Is some socks. These are my Hermione's Everyday socks, and they're all tangled up, but as you can see, maybe, they have heels now. So I've worked the Hermione's Everyday Eye of Partridge heel. That was a fun experience, and I've now finished the gusset too. So now I'm just straight knitting the rest of the foot until it gets to my desired length, and then I just finish off the toes. And yeah, this yarn is Patton's Croy Sock FX in their Clover Colors colorway, and I just love the texture of this yarn, or of this pattern, I mean. I love the texture of the yarn too, but I love the colors of the yarn and the texture of the pattern, and I'm just really excited. I feel like these socks are working up faster than any other pair of socks that I've knit, but again, I could have finished these, but I spent a lot of time working on this, and I think that's okay, because this has been on my needles since at least November, so it's been a long time coming for this. And so hopefully I'll finish these socks this week and get them on the sock blockers, and then I can wear them. And yeah, pretty happy with them. I'm just like being so awkward today. So awkward. I'm sorry. But yeah, yarn. I'm just awkward around yarn. I'm just the type of person that's like, I'm just going to feel it on my face, and that's not weird at all, right? Alright, next up, I've got not a lot of progress done on this, but more than it looks like. I've been working on with some of my hand spun. I've been working on a basic triangular shawl, not even following a pattern. I'm just following the basic rules of knitting a triangle, and I've been working on it in my hand spun so I can make it as big as I want, because I'm starting from the tip and just knitting to the top, and I just need to leave enough for the bind off row and I'll be fine. So this doesn't look like much, but I actually frogged the whole thing and started over again because it was too loose of a gauge, and I wanted it to, like, I'm okay with it being a little bit see-through, but I wanted it to be a tighter gauge than what I had initially set out with. I think I started it on size 4mm needles. 4mm, not size 4, I'm sorry. And now I've got it on 3.25mm, which was helpful because it got me the right gauge, and also helpful because I think I needed the size 4 needles for the Pebble Beach shawl, and so I had to cast that on. I mean, what could I do? I had to. So, I have actually made more progress than it looks like because I frogged everything and started over. But then, this hasn't gotten much work in the past couple of weeks. So, hopefully I'll get back to it soon now, because it really is very simple, and I can knit this while I'm watching a program, like a TV show, that I need to intently pay attention to, whereas some of my knitting patterns, I can't focus on a very intense show that I need to watch, and also the intense pattern. So, this is a nice mindless knitting project. I like it very much. And then, I have a couple more works in progress. And one of them I need to crinkle a little for. I'm sorry. There we go. Okay, so when I went to the Knitters Underground, they had, like, the best selection of Jamesons and Smith, which is, of course, Shetland, wool from Shetland, and they just make lovely woolen, beautiful wool. So I got a bunch of Jamesons and Smith, because how could you resist? And also, like, this was $2, because it was half off. So, yeah, the Jamesons and Smith was just too good to pass up. And I got a whole bunch of 2-ply jumper yarn. So, I pulled out this particular ball because it pairs with my last work in progress, which is I'm trying to knit, and I'm dropping everything. I'm trying to knit a Fair Isle tam style hat, so like a very British looking beret. So I've got the beginnings of a hat on the needles. And so I've got the brim here, and then I just started working the like pine tree pattern in gray and brown. And this pattern is the Winter Forest Tam by Ruskin's Notes on Ravelry. And, of course, I'm knitting it in Jamesons and Smith 2-ply jumper weight. And so the colors I've got here are this lovely seafoamy green that I used for the brim. And then, of course, there's gray and brown. And then this darker green to pair with it. So together, I think those look lovely and winter foresty. And I can't wait to have this hat done. But again, it kind of took a back burner for some of the projects that I've been working on. But I think today I'm definitely going to work on this quite a bit and get a bit more on the needles so I can show you more of this. Because right now it just looks like the beginnings of a hat. And yeah, it's not that impressive to look at. But I'm really excited about this hat, and I just want it to be on my head already. But knitting doesn't work like that, does it? Lastly, I have one more work in progress. Let me make sure that I don't mess it up when I pick it up. This is actually crochet, and it's a pattern, a stitch pattern that I've never used before. It's a basic Solomon's Knot wrap, which I've just barely started, because the Solomon's Knot takes a lot of focus and attention from me. But I am loving how it looks. It kind of reminds me of dogwood flowers, just a little. But yeah, I just started it. I'm crocheting this in Knit Picks Lindy Chain in their honey colorway. And Lindy Chain, I don't know if you can see, is actually a chained yarn. So it's got some nice lovely texture and definition. And Lindy Chain is a cotton linen yarn. And I love linen. I really do. So I'm very excited about this wrap. And when the wrap is long enough, it's going to be given a half twist and then joined along this top edge that's the chain, the foundation chain edge. So it's going to be like a Mobius wrap. And I'm really excited about it because it's just lovely and lacy and linen-y, and I love it. But there's not much to show right now, so hopefully I'll get more to show next week. But I'm very excited that I have started it, and I have something that looks like Solomon's Knot. So, yay! And I honestly don't remember where I got this pattern from. I will try to figure that out for the next podcast, but it's just a basic Solomon's Knot in a flat piece, and then it's just going to be joined at the end. So not a huge undertaking, and I'm excited about it. Now I am going to do quite a lot of crinkling probably, because now I'm up to stash enhancement, and all of my stash enhancement are in bags. So yeah, let's get to it, shall we? First off, Knitter's Underground. I got a bag from Knitter's Underground, and I'm dropping yarn, so there's that too. So, Knitter's Underground was wonderful because she had so many great yarn brands at such great prices, and still a very good selection. I was thinking closed down yarn shop with mega sales, like there's going to be nothing left. I was wrong. There was a lot left, and I was so excited about everything that I found there. And also, what I was excited about, I'm actually going to show you this first, was she also had a section of different fiber-related books that she doesn't want to sell, she wants to share. So she's set up her own little library. You fill out your name and like your phone number and everything, and what books you're taking, and you can take these books and use them for a month at a time and then return them so that somebody else can use them. And I found like a treasure trove of books that I've always wanted to like get my hands on and check out so that I could decide if I wanted to buy my own or not. So I brought some books with me, and I'm going to grab them. Because, guys, she had not one, not two, but 3 of Barbara Walker's knitting treasuries. And these things are amazing. They are, as the name says, a treasury of knitting stitches. And I brought them home because I want to just like study every single pattern in all of these books. And I probably will just get my own copy at some point. But I brought them home so that I could check out which patterns I like. If there's one of the treasuries that I don't need to get for myself because I'm not as interested in the patterns, but I love them. And then I also brought home a book called Victorian Lace Today, which has so many lovely lacy things that, well, I'm kind of addicted to lace, so I couldn't resist this. And I brought a book called Sweaters from Camp. And I brought this because I bought yarn to make one of the patterns from this book. And what I bought was Jameson & Smith 2-ply jumper weight. Are we really surprised by that? I don't think so. So let me find the picture of the vest that I want to knit. It's a beautiful Fair Isle vest. And I got so much lovely jumper weight yarn to knit this with, and I'm having trouble finding the vest. I'm sorry. But while I found it. There we go. It's the Northwest Sunset Fair Isle vest. And I'll just show you this picture over here. I'm very excited to knit this vest. So, I got a whole bunch of Jamesons and Smith to knit it with. And I will show you the Jamesons and Smith once I pull it out of the bag. So I got several balls of dark green, which is like kind of the base color. And then I got all sorts of sunset colors. So 2 purples to fade into reds and pinks and apricot, and then a nice pale yellow. So all of these, and then this dark green, are going to be a vest, and they're going to be wonderful, and I'm going to love it. And I can't wait to start it, but I should probably finish my other sweater before I start a new sweater. And then I got a couple of balls of alpaca boucle from Plymouth Yarn Company, which is actually located in Pennsylvania here. And so it's this lovely boucle, which looks like such a better boucle than my boucle sample. But, you know, not feeling guilty. And I don't know what I want to use these for exactly, but there's been so many times where I've wanted boucle and haven't been able to find it. So when I found it at like $3 a ball, I was like, well, duh. And then I'm so freaking excited about this. I got 4 cones of Jamesons and Smith 1-ply cobweb yarn in this lovely pink, pale pink color. And I've wanted to get cobweb yarn for so long. It's a single 1-ply, and it's lighter than lace. And I just can't wait to make some delicate lace shawl out of this. I figured that 4 cones would probably be enough to get me something, so I'm like beyond excited about this stuff. I had to get it. And then the last thing was kind of a splurge, but I'm pretty darn happy about it. I got some Duke silk yarn from Himalaya Yarn, located in Colchester, Vermont. And it's 100% silk yarn from India. It's a worsted weight, and I just loved those colors. I saw these colors and I was like, I just have to have this yarn. It's a single ply silk yarn in beautiful multicolored wonderfulness, and I'm gonna make something luxurious out of this. Probably for my neck, because silk. Yeah, that was a splurge, but it was worth it. It was worth every penny. And also, it was half off, so, like, it was really worth it. Next up, I also, before I went to Knitters Underground, I placed an order with Knit Picks. And I got that Alpaca Cloud Edith colorway that I talked about. And the reason I placed an order with Knit Picks is because I really needed a ball winder. So I got a Knit Picks ball winder, and I've been winding everything into balls now. This is like a skein of Edith that I don't even need yet. And I just wound it into a ball because I have a ball winder and a Swift. And it's addictive to wind things into balls. I also wound this lovely alpaca with silk noils yarn into a ball. Only I'm planning on using this soon. But like all of my sock yarn is now in center pull balls, even though I can't knit that many socks all at once. It's ridiculous, but I'm addicted. But while I was ordering a ball winder, like, you know, if you're gonna send me something, I might as well put a little bit of yarn in there too, right? So I ordered several balls of Knit Picks Brava Sport, which is their premium acrylic. I've been wanting to try this out because it's an affordable yarn. It's acrylic, but it doesn't feel like acrylic particularly. And I needed a sport weight yarn for a Jane Austen inspired overdress that I want to knit. So I got several of these. I only brought one down. The color is, I don't even know what the color is. It's this like hunter green color. But I'm really excited about that. And then I got one skein of Knit Picks Billow in their Comfrey colorway. This is 100% cotton, and it's kind of a thick and thin, bulky cotton yarn. And I've just been interested in it. I've heard lots of bad reviews because it's kind of thick and thin, but as a hand spinner, I don't really hate that idea. So I just wanted to try it, and I'm looking into more summery yarns since it's almost summer. So I got one skein of Billow. So that's my Knit Picks haul. Only there's more of it because I have like 5 balls of this and several balls of Alpaca Cloud fingering, whatever it is. Yeah. So that was exciting. And then I've also branched out into a couple of other crafts. Well, I've gotten the stuff for them, and I'm like beyond excited. So yeah, I'm actually going to stop for a minute because I realized I forgot something that I wanted to bring to show off with the next stash acquisition. So when I was in high school, I took a class called Creative Crafts, which was, of course, right up my alley. Although I wasn't a knitter back then, but I was a knitter at heart, and I just didn't know it yet. So I loved this class. It was fantastic. We got to make jewelry, and we played around with polymer clay. We did batik, and oh, I don't even remember what else. We carved linoleum blocks into stamps and stuff like that. But my absolute, oh, we even did stained glass. That was so fun. But my absolute favorite segment, as the true fiber nerd that I was, even though I didn't know it yet, was basketry. We did basket weaving with reeds and everything, and I made this melon basket that I now use to hold various trinkets and things. It's got like a decorated handle and some dyed strips in the middle, and it's a melon basket, and it's like the thing I've been most proud of making in my whole life. Like, I made this basket. And recently I was like, oh, it was on Palm Sunday. I was sitting in church with the palm leaves that we commonly use for Palm Sunday, and I just like desperately wanted to weave it into something. And I mean, I couldn't. I could have, but I wasn't gonna do that in church. But it made me remember how much I enjoyed basket weaving and how much I would love to get back into it. So I ordered a basketry kit. It came with all of this lovely reeds and canes and everything. This was awesome. It came from VI Reed and Cane Incorporated, basket weaving kits and supplies. So their information is up top. And this was actually their internet special kit, which allows you to make all 5 of those baskets that you see there. The original basket, or original beginner, the ear of corn basket, the Cape Cod blueberry basket, the mini heart, and the melon basket, which is just like the basket that I wove in high school. So, I just thought this was awesome, and it was at like a seriously awesome price for basketry supplies because it's their internet special kit. So, yeah, I ordered that, and I got it in the mail, and I haven't started it yet because things have been busy, and every time I have time to do it, it's not very nice outside, and I prefer to do basket weaving outside because you have to soak the reeds and then they're all wet and you don't want to get that all over your carpet or something. So yeah, I'm waiting for a nice day to try and weave my first basket in a long time. But I am so unbelievably excited about weaving a basket. And I will definitely share anything that I make in the basketry department on this podcast, because I also consider this to be a fiber art in some way, because reed, it is a fiber. It's a plant fiber. It's just a really, really big plant fiber. So, yeah. Beyond excited about that. And then lastly, also beyond excited, is I got myself an inkle loom so that I can start weaving some bands and getting into some weaving. I partly got this because I want to make a berry picking basket with a hand-woven band to sling around my shoulders, so that when we're harvesting in our garden this year, I have a nice handy basket that's like perfect for harvesting. That's really why I got all of the basket things. I love using baskets for harvesting, and I prefer when I use baskets that I've made because I know what's gone into them, and I know that they're not treated with all sorts of chemicals and things that I don't want on my food. So yeah, I got this inkle loom. It came from Windhaven Fiber Tools, or Windhaven Fiber and Tools. They have an Etsy shop, and they also have a website, I guess. And this, I believe, was the Minstrel loom. They have different sizes of looms. So this can weave, like, I think a 3-foot band. It's a nice little travel-sized inkle loom. And I haven't started using it yet because I'm waiting until a book that's in the library that talks about inkle loom weaving becomes available. Someone else has got it checked out currently, but I'm waiting until that becomes available so that I can get the advice of that book. Although this loom also came with a very handy instruction book, but I just want to have that book of patterns and things so I can choose some more looks that I want things to look like. But I'm really excited about this. I'm like getting into weaving a little bit with the inkle loom and the basketry kit, and I'm very excited about all these things. So yeah, every time I see these things, it just makes me so happy. So I kind of splurged a little bit, but I also got a new job, and so yeah, that was worth celebrating with a lot of other things that will take up lots of my time and that will leave me with no time to podcast. I'm going to make time to podcast, actually, because once I start on my regular schedule, I'll be able to like set aside a day for podcasting, I'm hoping. So hopefully things should actually get better from this point, but for the next few weeks until mid-May, it might be a little bit crazy, and I apologize for that. I appreciate the support of everyone who watches this podcast, and I very much want to continue podcasting, so please don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I just might be a little bit out of commission for the next few weeks as I'm training for the new job. So sorry about that if I am, but thank you for sticking by me. And yeah, I'm gonna wrap up this podcast with talking about my goals really quickly so that I can be accountable and try and actually get these things done. Because I was looking back at my show notes from the last time, and I actually did almost all of my goals. I wanted to finish the border of this, and I did. I wanted to block all the things, and I did. I wanted to dye the blue Targhee wool, and I did. The only thing I think... Oh, and I wanted to finish up my current spinning projects, which I did. So the only thing I didn't really get to do was sewing, which I didn't do any sewing, but I did a lot of sewing prep work, which I think still kind of counts. And I'm not sharing it because it's all set up nicely, ready to be sewn, and it'll look nicer if I share it once it's a sewn, finished project. But, yeah, I've done prep work, and I'm hoping to sew this week, so that is one of my first goals, is sewing. Sewing project bags mostly, but I'm also hoping to get into a little bit of clothing sewing sometime soon, because now with my new job, I need a slightly more professional wardrobe, and I can't find the types of, like, skirts and things that I really want to wear, so why not try sewing them? I've got that lovely Tilly and the Buttons sewing book, and I'm excited to dive into the world of garment sewing, but I might not get that done before the next podcast. But it is a goal, a dream goal, I guess. I also hope that I can finish my Hermione's Everyday socks in time to enter them into the Harry Potter Cal for Inside Number 23 for this month. I doubt it's going to happen, but I hope I can. And I'd also love to start a pair of shorty socks because it's getting into summer and I'm wearing summery shoes that I would like to wear shorty socks with, and I would love to wear hand knit socks with, so I should work on some of those. I also want to try and make a basket this week because, yeah, basket. I'm also looking to start a new spinning project of some type. I've done a couple of spinning samples, but I don't think I want to do those whole projects yet. But I want to come up with some sort of project I can work on because it's been a while since I've spun and I miss it, so I want to get back to it. Lastly, I want to try to scour the Leicester Longwool fleece bits that I got when a lady brought a whole Leicester Longwool fleece into the Spinners Guild the other month, whenever that was, and let us kind of pick it apart and take like hat quantities of fleece. So I've got a little quantity of fleece and I want to try my hand at scouring it within the next week or two. It's getting nicer out now, so I can set up the scour station outside and try my hand at it. So those are my basic goals, and I hope to stick to them, but everything could change in the blink of an eye because things are crazy learning this new job right now. And it's like awesome crazy, but it's crazy. So hopefully I will get this podcast up soon, and hopefully I'll film a new one soon. And please stick with me, and thank you for sticking with me if you have already. And I'm gonna wish you happy knitting and happy spring. Bye.